I used to work in the team censoring pictures for Google Images. Beside gore and children pornography, there are things that are unimaginable. Nowadays, working as a picture censor for Google Images is easy. AI algorithm can easily filter out most of the pictures on its own, and you only get a small portion of selected, dubious pictures. Back in the days when I was working for Google, it was a completely different story. I had to dig deep in the world of children pornography, gore and sex. It was a terrible journey, and I and my workmates suffered whole spectrum of mental problems, from depression, through anxiety to PTSD. I was in this position for 2 whole years. We've been paid an amazing amount of money, a dozen times more than people in my post-communist country earned at the time. But the job wasn't easy. We had a strict agreement to keep our job a secret. We were never able to discuss the details of our work with anyone. Plus, we've received a detailed instruction about pictures which were seemingly innocent but could bring harm to us or even the whole world. These are the pictures that should have been erased from Google Images forever. To be honest, we never talked about those pictures with anyone. Beside the huge fines accompanying breaching the rule, we got a few subtle suggestions from our supervisors that it may result in a sudden and unpleasant end for us. Hiding the secret made me feel terrible. Ever since I left the job, I had felt a constant guilt. I felt as if I was cheating my relatives, friend, and the whole society. That's why I've decided to share the description of the pictures with you. I suffer from cancer and I am going to die in a few months, so I don't care about consequences. The whole bunch of drugs I receive every day makes my mind clouded, and I forgot a lot of things. But I still remember a few of the most memorable instructions. I've tried to describe them as close to the original text of instruction as possible. Instructions. Once in a while, a picture of someone dying may contain a young girl in a green dress. She's about 11 years old, definitely too young to be watching such a scene. Her look may differ depending on the geographic location, in accordance with average features of people living there, but you may notice she has black fingertips as if she was a victim of plague. The source of this phenomena is unknown, but we theorize that this is a manifestation of the Reaper. 2. For the last 5 years, we've been dealing with distorted pictures coming from the unknown source. Probably some sect. Those pictures contains a geometric pattern of few altered pixels, invisible for the unaware viewer. However, looking at those pictures caused many people to experience unpleasant suicidal thoughts, sometimes leading to successful suicide attempt. Those pictures are easy to recognize. If looking at a picture you experience the deepest sadness you've ever felt without apparent reason, the sadness which is bigger even than losing a loved one, it means you look at such a picture. But don't worry. Your behavior and reactions are strictly monitored. If we notice that all of a sudden you've become depressed, in no more than 30 seconds our paramedic will inject you with a sedative drug which will put you in a few-hour coma. It is enough to recover from the impact of the picture. 3. Some pictures of the night sky, made at the right time, in the specified location, may show a big spherical object covered in something resembling the snake skin. We stay in touch with NASA and US President. They insist on us to keep the existence of the object a secret. They say it is a matter of the national and global security. 4. Representatives of the Catholic Church contacted us soon after we started Google Images Searcher and wanted us to block a certain picture. The mentioned picture contains a photo of a manuscript written in Aramaic. Of course, we don't expect you to know Aramaic language, but the manuscript can be easily recognized. It has a picture of burning tower attacked by the 4 horsemen on top of the card. The church didn't want us to know the exact text and paid us a lot of money to keep it a secret. However, we managed to hire Aramaic language expert on our own. He believed that the document might be the unknown final page of the John's Revelation containing the exact date of the apocalypse. We've never been given the English text of the manuscript. The translator died in mysterious accident and all results of his work disappeared without trace before he sent it. The picture has never resurfaced again, but you should notify us as soon as you see a picture which may fit the description. The church is too powerful enemy, even for Google. 5. One of the most mysterious pictures we've stumbled upon is the black rectangle. It is uploaded on many obscure websites. Our analysts and applications were unable to notice any difference between this picture and any random picture showing black rectangle. However, looking at the picture described in this paragraph make the viewer screaming for 5 hours straight. That's why you work in headphones. 6. If you are really unlucky, we estimate it to happen once in about 25 million cases, you may stumble upon a picture of a bearded fisherman. It's seemingly insignificant black and white picture showing an elder fisherman pointing at something in front of him. A viewer has got an impression that pointed object is behind his or her back. If you see the described picture, you're cursed. If you ever look back or catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, you'll see a pale woman behind you and after a few seconds you will be dead. There were few cases. All resulted in a quick death. Avoiding any reflective surfaces or turning around is impossible. But don't worry. In such a case, the person you mentioned in your application form as the most significant will receive $2 million in cash. These are all instructions I remember. I am sure there were much more, but as I mentioned, all those painkillers made my mind shattered in pieces. My family has an odd tradition. Keep the box closed. My mom snapped as soon as she entered my room. I've told you a million times, you never leave an empty box open. I rolled my eyes and grabbed some tape to seal up the box sitting in my room's corner. For as long as I can remember, my parents were adamant about making sure that empty boxes stayed closed. Despite there only being a few instances where this mattered, it had come up more often since we moved into a new place one summer. No matter how many times I had asked my parents why it was so vital that we keep empty boxes closed, they always gave me the same answer: it's traditional. What did that even mean? What culture cares about making sure boxes are closed? If there was one, I'm pretty sure it wasn't ours. But I knew trying to argue with them over something illogical was pointless, so I let it be for the most part. One night, I got curious and emptied out the box containing my video games and set it next to my bed. The next morning I woke up to my parents setting the box on fire in the backyard. "Jesus, it's just a box," I said a little too loudly. Noticing I was awake, my mom shot me a cold look and marched over towards me. "I told you the boxes have to stay closed," she yelled, pointing a finger towards the fire as if I had caused it. I looked over to my dad for some support, but he only returned a blank stare and adjusted his glasses. For a moment, I thought I had stepped into crazy town and that my mom was the mayor. I put my hands on my hips and got ready to go to war. It's just a box. I don't know why either of you is so superstitious about it. I don't know why you can't just listen to your parents. My eyes grew wide, and I thrust my hands towards the still burning box, because I didn't think you'd set the thing on fire. You don't think this is a little extreme? My mom looked back at the fire and then turned around to me. She shook her head and lowered her voice but kept the same stern tone. "No. It's not." Bewildered, I simply asked, "Why?" She stayed silent until my dad walked over and put his hand on my shoulder. "It's tradition, son. We just don't do it." I took a moment to process this. It just seemed crazy. I wanted to say something back, but I could see it wasn't going to go anywhere. Once again, I had to just let it go. Fast forward 7 years, and I'm living on my own. I had just finished college, and I was moving into my new apartment. My girlfriend was over to help me move all my stuff, and as it started to get late, we decided to go out to eat. Before we left, I noticed an empty box next to my couch. I could hear my parents screaming in the back of my head to close it up before I left. But I was on my own now. I deserved the comfort of being able to make my own decisions. Plus, it was just a box. I wasn't going to start going down the crazy rabbit hole of believing that something terrible was going to happen. I decided to go out with my girlfriend, and I spent the night at her place. The next morning, we came back for another round of unpacking and setting things up. The first thing I wanted to see was the box by the couch as proof that nothing crazy had happened. Honestly, I planned to call my parents after I had seen that it was just sitting there as expected. But that's not what happened. I came back to find the box closed. I asked my girlfriend if she had come back to the apartment and closed the box. She just gave me a weird look and asked why she would do that. For a moment, I thought my parents had done it, but I knew they didn't have the keys to my apartment. I slowly walked over and moved it a little with my foot. The thing was heavy. Not so much that it felt like it was full of new stuff, but there was definitely something in there. I thought for a moment and figured maybe a raccoon or stray cat had somehow made its way inside and taken up residence inside the box. I told my girlfriend to open up the front door while I slid the box over so that whatever it was could escape. I went to open the box and immediately jumped back at what I saw, yelling at its contents. My girlfriend rushed over and mirrored my reaction when she was what was inside. It looked like an emaciated person was contorted just well enough to fit inside. Its hairless mummified-looking skin had varicose veins running across its body. Its distended stomach moved feverishly as if something was struggling to escape. But the most shocking were those perfectly circular sunken-in eyes that immediately darted towards us, boring into our very souls. It shot one bony hand out of the box and placed it on the ground. Then its crooked legs. Then another hand. And a third, this one protruding from its chest. It pushed itself out of the box, and at full extension, it stood head and shoulders above us. Our blood ran cold as it spoke from a mouth lined with needle-like teeth. "You've disturbed my home. And now I'll take yours." I grabbed my girlfriend's hand and ran out the front door to her car. We shot out of there and never looked back. I tried calling the apartment to see if they could bring me some of my stuff, but they didn't seem so keen on doing that for someone who had left with no explanation. I tried to hire someone to get my things before the locks changed. But they called soon after arriving, claiming that I was trying to play some horrible prank on them and block my number. He claimed it sounded like there were rats in the walls and children running around. And when he went into my room, he saw something or someone he only ever wanted to describe as a really fucked up prop. He then promptly blocked my number. My girlfriend was more than accommodating, and I'm still fortunate to have her. But understandably, she was shaken from what she saw. We both were and are. The only people that could make any sense of what happened were my parents, so I gave them a call. They were devastated at what happened. My parents explained they were afraid this exact thing might happen and that it only would have happened sooner if they told me the full extent of our tradition. Apparently, they know me better than myself because they assumed if I knew, then I'd be motivated to prove them wrong, and even without going that far. They were right. But beyond that, they didn't want me living in fear as they had. Always stressed about what could be lurking in every dark corner. My parents knew that what they were asking may have seemed silly, but in the grand scheme of things, it would have been so much better to be hidden from a lifetime of fear in exchange for a weird tradition. And now I'm paying the price. My dad had always been a quiet man, but he got emotional when he told me his story. Apparently, not all the entities are the same. When he was a kid, he mentioned that what appeared was much closer to looking human than what I had seen. He named the entity Jim, and they'd been secret friends for weeks. They'd play together, and Jim would take him out at night to adventure around his town. One night, however, Jim became erratic and told my dad that if he ever got rid of the box, he called home, he'd drown my dad in the lake. That night, my dad got scared and had a nightmare about Jim holding his head under the water. He woke up and ran to tell his parents everything. He recalled how his dad rushed into his room, grabbed the box, and lit it on fire in their backyard. My dad can apparently still hear Jim's screams as he burned. The morning, I woke up to him burning the box. He had sworn that a perverted version of his childhood friend had taken up residence. Jim screamed about how he'd make sure I suffered the way he did until the fire made him fall silent. I didn't know what to say. I had so many questions that they couldn't answer. I still don't know how this is happening or why. Is our family cursed, or is this something other people have to deal with? I don't know. Either way, I know better now. And I really suggest anyone reading this heeds my warning too. Never leave an empty box open. You never know what'll move inside.